Today, I'll guide you through every step to create a web app that generates different voiceover MP3 files based on text inputs. By the end of this video, you'll have built a Streamlit application and gained hands-on experience with the 11 Labs API. You'll also learn to use Klein as your development co-pilot and deploy your application. Before we start, make sure you have the following: an OpenRouter API key, a GitHub account, an 11 Labs API key, and a Streamlit account, all of which can be created for free, except for the OpenRouter API key where we need some credits. I'll be sure to complete this tutorial within a $1 limit. There is a separate video on how to create an OpenRouter account and obtain the API key, as well as another video for creating a GitHub account. In this video, I will show you how I create a new 11 Labs and Streamlit account for free. You can see here my GitHub account. Now, let me sign up for 11 Labs. We can go to 11labs.io and click Get Started Free. I will choose to sign up with Google. Okay, so now I have a new 11 Labs account. I can use their website to generate voiceover for free or use their API. Now let me create a Streamlit account. Go to streamlit.io and then click on Sign Up. Continue to sign in, and I will use my GitHub account. So now we have a new Streamlit account. Now, you might be asking, why Streamlit? One of the main reasons I chose Streamlit is its simplicity for rapid web application development. It allows you to work with just a single Python file, eliminating the need for separate front-end and back-end. Additionally, Streamlit is especially beginner-friendly, reducing setup time and allowing us to focus on core functionality without the complications of a multi-stack setup. Let's begin by creating a new GitHub repository and opening it in CodeSpace. I will create a new repository. I will name this VoiceOver Generator. I will keep this public, and I will initialize the repository with a README. I will also add a git ignore. I will choose a license and then create repository. Now that we have a new repository, we can open this in GitHub Codespaces. We can do so by clicking Code and then create Codespace on main. I know there's a one-step process to do all of this, but I prepare separating these steps for reliability. What's next? We will install Klein. We will go to Extensions and search for Klein. Once installed, we will need to provide it with an OpenRouter API key. Let's click on Klein here and provide an API key. Then click on Let's Go. Klein will serve as our AI development co-pilot. It will make our life easier. So we will always rely on Klein as much as possible to make this process accessible even to non-developers. However, it's important to verify Klein's output to understand the code and make adjustments if necessary. Now let's ask Klein to create a basic project structure for our Streamlit app. We will use this prompt. Create a basic project structure for a Streamlit app that will process XML-like formatted files and generate separate audio files using 11 Labs API. Ensure to retrieve the available voices first and save as JSON file. Then use different voices according to the input file to generate voiceover for the speaking character. Include only essential files and directory. Now Klein wants to create a new file. Let's click on Save. It will create an env.template file. Save. It created an 11 Labs API.py. Then click Save. Click Save for the script parser, as well as on the app.py. There's a sample script here. Then Klein wants to edit the ignore file, the git ignore file. Now, Klein wants to run this command, streamlit run app.py. But before we press run command, we need to understand what's going on here. So, we need to review what Klein outputted here. So, Klein created a default structure for our application. And it says here that to use the application, 1, install the required dependencies. But Klein wants to run this first. So, this is step number 3. That means we need to copy this command and run it manually first. On the first time you will attempt to paste a text or image from the clipboard, this will appear. Just click on allow. Okay, so this is step number 1. Okay, so step number 2 is copy the env.template to .env and add your 11 Labs API. So that means we will go to the Explorer and copy this file as a new file, but we will rename this as .env as instructed by client. Now we will need to provide the API key. Right now, I don't have an API key, so we need to generate API key. To do that, let's go to 11 Labs, click on my profile here, and click on API keys. You can see here that I have a total of 10,000 credits. I will create an API key. Then copy this key. Now let's go back to the GitHub Codespaces and paste in the key created. Now let's go back to client, and then finally we can run this command. So let's click on run command. Now we can see here that your application running on port 8501 is available. Let's click on open in browser. Nice. As you can see here, it was able to fetch the voices file successfully. And then it created a very basic UI here that's look fantastic. Now let's see if we can test this. Let's go to GitHub Codespaces and click proceed while running. And it looks like the task has been completed. So what I will do is download this file to my local computer and then drag it here. As we can see here, we can assign voices to each character. So let's click on Generate VoiceOver. Alright, generated 4 audio files in the output directory. Let's check. So the output is here, and we can preview them by clicking the play button.
Hello there. How are you doing today?
Let's check if that's the correct script. John, hello there. How are you doing today? It's correct. Let's try Sarah.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm fantastic. The weather is perfect for a walk in the park.
Nice.
You're right. We should definitely enjoy this beautiful day.
So in one shot, in one prompt, we were able to implement this application. But of course, we can still work on improving this. We can now commit these changes. We can say initial commit with working implementation. Commit. We can ask client to update our README file. Let's go to client and start a new task and then say, we can see here the request cost for each API request. Relying on client helps us resolve problems quickly, so don't hesitate to ask client for answers. It's like having an always available development partner. I was expecting client to make a mistake in this implementation, especially on how it handles the 11 Labs API call, but I'm surprised that it did it in one shot. So let's examine the code here. So this is the class for 11 Labs API, get voices. We can see when this function or method is called by right-clicking on it and clicking on find all references. And we can see here that it's being called by this method. So when does this method being called? We can do the same. It's being called outside this file, which is on app.py. I was worried that this method is being called every time we upload a script, but looks like client is smart enough to check if voices.json already exists before calling this method. Let's examine that file, voices.json. Okay, one thing I want to expose here is the ability to review and download the files. So let's see if client can do that. Let's go back to GitHub Codespaces. Let's commit this first. Let's go to client and start a new task. And let's say here that we want the audio files generated. Okay. Client is now updating the app.py file. Let's save. And then, of course, this won't run because it is currently running. So let's just cancel this, close this terminal, and then click run command. Then we can go here and refresh. As we can see, these 4 files has been exposed and we can preview them.
Hello there. How are you doing today?
You can also download them here or delete them. But now we encountered an error. module Streamlit has no attribute experimental rerun. I don't have any idea what that means. So what shall we do? Let's go back to GitHub Codespaces and proceed while running. Klein was able to detect that there's an error. So now it's automatically fixing the error for us. Let's approve because Klein wants to use the browser. I wonder if it can use the browser this way. Let's wait for a bit. This usually works with front-end application, but it looks like it also works with Streamlit apps. The task has been completed. Let's run the command. It created a new port 8502, so let's click on open in browser. And then let's try to play this file first.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
And then let's try to delete. Okay, so it's deleting the files. Let's try to generate audio files again as before. Then click on generate voiceover. There you go. Let's try.
Hello there. How are you doing today?
Okay, so what will happen if we refresh this page? It's still there. Nice. Let's begin the deployment process now that our app is working. We were able to deploy this locally using Streamlit run app.py command. So now we'll deploy our app to Streamlit Cloud. Since we already linked our GitHub account to Streamlit when I created a new Streamlit account, this should be fairly easy and quick to do. Let's see. Let's close this. Let's click on Create App and click on Deploy a public app from GitHub. Let's choose voice over generator, and the main file path is not this one. If you take a look at our Project Explorer, we are using simply app.py. So let's change this to app.py. Then this app URL is optional. Then let's click on deploy. It says here that the app.py does not exist also. So why? Let's check. Let's make sure that this is committed also. So now that we have committed all the changes that we need, this doesn't exist yet in our GitHub repository. To check on that, we can go to GitHub and refresh. And as you can see, the new files such as app.py doesn't exist here. So that means we need to sync the changes by clicking this button and then OK. And then let's refresh to make sure that it's there. There you go. And now we can go back to Streamlit and click on deploy. Okay, so it fetches the available voices first because there's no voice.json yet. I wonder how it was able to do that when we haven't provided the API key for 11 Labs yet. Maybe it's free? I don't know. But I will expect this to fail. Let me drag the sample script here and then just click generate voiceovers. Yes. So it says here that it needs authorization because we have not provided the API key properly. So let's try to fix the issue. Let's click on view all apps and let's see if we can change something here. Let's click on settings, sharing, and there you go, secret. So let's copy what's in our .env and paste it in on this file. It says here that the format is invalid. Let's undo and see what's the valid format. So the valid format is like that. So we need to use a double quotes there and then save. Okay, now let's try to run. Click generate voiceovers. Still error. So what happened? Let's click on settings again. Or maybe we need to reboot. Okay, reboot. We needed to do that so that our app will be able to capture what's in the secrets. And hopefully, this time it will work. Unusual activity detected. Okay, so we have been flagged that we are probably doing multiple requests within a time limit. So that's why this happens. Of course, we're not abusing their service. So this is just an automated message. So this time, what I will do as a way to fix this is to use a different API key. Okay, so I have provided a different API key and rebooted the app. Okay, let's try to upload again. Generate voiceovers. And it looks like it's working now. There you go. Let's try.
Hello there. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? I'm fantastic. The weather is perfect for a walk in the park.
So both the voices for John and Sarah is the same because we have selected Arya for both of them. Let's delete and try again. For John, let's use Charlie. For Sarah, let's use Sarah. And then click on Generate Voiceovers. Let's preview.
Hello there. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm fantastic. The weather is perfect for a walk in the park.
You're right. We should definitely enjoy this beautiful day.
Nice! To recap, we successfully built a multi-voice generator using ElevenLabs API, tested it thoroughly, and deployed it for public use. We can share this URL to everyone we want to share this with. Of course, we would need to be cautious because someone might abuse our application and generate voiceover as they wish. Because right now, as it stands, we are providing a free service for text-to-speech to everyone who knows this URL. Of course, I will disable the API key here to protect myself, but I'm just mentioning that so that it won't happen to you. I will be including the links to the GitHub repository and documentation in the description below, so feel free to explore more and experiment with the code. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Share your projects in the comments and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Happy coding!